The hive mind sets off from the Lake of Rage to collect their final 2 gym badges. On the way, they're tasked to investigate a strange radio signal affecting the Lake of Rage, which had caused all the Magikarp to evolve into Gyarados. They discover a secret hideout in the neighboring town, and guess who sweeps the executives?
Weezus?
No, Brian. Next on their list is to defeat the leader of Mahogany Town, the Ice-type leader, Price.
Reaching Price required accuracy. The team decides to let Democracy guide them to Price, where Brian nearly breaks Lasergator's sweep streak, and he would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for Price and his meddling hyper potion.
Once they exit the gym, the hive mind gets a call from Professor Elm, who tells them that all the radio broadcasts have been hijacked by Team Rocket. On the way to the radio tower to investigate, they spot that mysterious godly Pokemon, Suicune. But of course, a tree blocks their path.
Admiral was the only Pokemon in the team that knew Cut, and he had been released. So the hive mind uses Democracy to bestow the Way of the Sword to Lasergator. This wasn't seen as just learning a new move. Lasergator picked up the sword of his fallen comrade. He cuts down the tree and they confront Suicune, but it quickly flees.
Democracy also blesses Brian with the gift of flight. This gift had never been seen before in Twitch Plays Pokemon history, even by Bird Jesus. Brian can now forge his own path in life. He uses his newfound freedom to fly them all the way back to the beginning of the game.
They make their way downtown to Mr. Pokemon and receive an EXP share, an item that gives any Pokemon who's holding it experience from battles, even if they don't participate. Democracy entrusts the item to Burrito. Next, the hive mind decide that they haven't been plagued with quite enough phone calls thus far, so they return to the very first trainer in the game, youngster Joey, and re-register his phone number, as it got lost earlier in the day. All Joey ever did was talk about his incredible Rattata, but the team decided this side mission was more important than going to the radio tower. Upon completing this noble quest, the hive mind travels to Goldenrod and ends the 5th day.
The team enters the radio tower, clears out all the rocket grunts, beats their rival, and rescues the radio tower's director in a mere 10 hours. A notable loss in viewership was causing rifts in the hive mind. Then, a proud and noble Redditor, Viking Nipples, decided to post an image calling for a mission known as Operation Love, where people would just stop being mean to one another.
For probably the first time in internet history, this tactic worked, and members of the hive mind all made an honest attempt to be better toward one another. During Operation Love, Burrito even evolved into an Espeon. Eevee can only evolve into an Espeon if it has a high enough friendship level, so this was seen as Burrito's way of acknowledging Operation Love.
The hive mind was well on their way to the final gym leader, Claire. All they had to do was pass through the very tricky ice path, known as Ice Hell, to get to her. After around 8 hours of struggling on a boulder puzzle, Democracy Mode steps in and teaches Chuck Norris to hone his strength by teaching him strength, and clears the puzzle. This had been the longest use of Democracy in the run, clocking in at an hour and a half. It was believed that the light of Burrito and the strength of Chuck Norris led them through this icy hell.
They defeat Claire within an hour, and Brian uses his gift of flight to break Lasergator's sweep streak. Like a total sore loser, Claire refuses to admit defeat until they complete the Dragon User Challenge. So they complete the challenge, receive Claire's badge, and a Dratini. In typical Twitch Plays Pokemon fashion, they of course name their new Dratini with yet another impossible to pronounce nickname, KT. Katie was said to have joined the party to redeem the reputation of the Dragon type, which was tarnished in Gen 1 when a mighty Dragonite lost a battle to Red's weakest party member, ATV. Katie became a welcome addition to the party's shared cause of seeking revenge against Red.
On their way to the Elite Four, they visit Elm and receive the Master Ball, a one-of-a-kind ball that can catch any Pokemon in one throw. A discussion opens to decide which Pokemon they should catch with this ball. Maybe that mysterious and godly Pokemon Suicune? Well, not even a full hour after getting the Master Ball, and with no hesitation, they used the only Master Ball on a level 22 Goldeen, one of the weakest Pokemon in the game. They could have caught any Pokemon, guaranteed, and they caught a Goldeen. The hive mind reasoned that the Master Ball chose its Pokemon, and the Goldeen was destined to be caught. Goldeen earns the nickname Master Goldeen. Suddenly, the stream cuts out for a little longer than usual. When it came back, the hive mind noticed an incredible change to the way the game received commands.
Communism.
Communism operated by allowing the hive mind to vote on commands, just like Democracy. It also had a 3-second timer, which meant that movement was much faster than Democracy. All the buttons that could be pressed were listed on the side of the screen and got highlighted when they were performed. After about an hour, the stream went down and anarchy came back, quickly followed by...
Democracy.
Wait, no, communism again. Communism wound up staying for the rest of the day, but vanished the next day, never to be seen again.
The hive mind decided it was time for Lasergator to either defeat or catch the old god Pokemon Suicune. They fly to Mahogany Town to stock up with some Ultra Balls, and they buy 99 Pokeballs, the weakest ball in the game, and head up to Suicune.
This was the time for Lasergator to prove that he could slay or capture a god. If he was ever to defeat Red, he would first have to prove that he could conquer the mysterious and godly Suicune.
It was time.
So the team heads up to Burn Tower and faces off against the old god Suicune. Brian leads the party, but attempts to run away in fear, so the hive mind tags Lasergator in. Suicune uses his laser vision, the same laser vision that gave Lasergator his name, to lower his defense. It seemed the old god was testing him. One more surf and Lasergator would prove that he could stand up to any god of the game. And after not even touching a single one of their 99 Pokeballs, Lasergator defeats Suicune.
He did it. Lasergator slayed a god. With his new potential realized, the team decides to first conquer the world of Pokemon by defeating the Elite Four, then conquer their destiny by defeating Red.
But before they did any of that stuff, they decided they had a more pressing matter to attend to, and his name was Youngster Joey. His incessant calls were always met with a ton of joy. Now it was time to face him before the Elite Four. His constant bragging and confidence led the team to believe that he had grown incredibly strong. They make the trek and challenge Youngster Joey, and, well, he still only had a level 4 Rattata. To end the 8th day, they used some of those 99 Pokeballs they bought to catch a bunch of Pokemon while back en route to the Elite Four.
Day 9 kicks off with Katie evolving into a Dragonair, and the hive mind catching even more Pokemon. Youngster Joey decided that AJ Downs needed a Rattata just like his in order to complete his journey, so he sent them one named Ace. They make it to the Elite Four, but face a new challenge, to enter the Elite Four without talking to this old man here, since his Abra can teleport them all the way back to their home. This would waste a ton of time, so of course the hive mind decided to talk to the old man only 4 minutes after defeating their rival.
On their way back, the old systems of government return, and the hive mind uses democracy to fly them back to the Elite Four. After almost teleporting back again, the hive mind panics and winds up at the PC, where they retrieve their Onix, who can level up into a Steelix in this version. With only 4 Pokemon in their party, they decide to challenge the Elite Four for the first time and take down the first member, Will, but then lose to the next member, Koga, after desperately trying to catch his irresistible Muk-kun. After only a couple of teleports back home, the 9th day ends.
The hive mind decides that they should remove some of the team's useless moves to make battles run a little more smoothly. So Democracy navigates them to the move deleter with remarkable precision, and in less than an hour, Burrito forgets 2 non-damaging moves. Lasergator, Brian, and Katie also forget some moves, and Burrito learns the all-powerful move Psychic.
After throwing themselves at the Elite Four a couple more times, their Onix evolves into a Steelix and earns the nickname Solid Snake.
With all of these adjustments, the team is now complete.
At 9 days, 20 hours, and 33 minutes, the team challenges the Elite Four for the 37th time. Will Slowbro knocks out Ace, but gets avenged by Solid Snake, who resisted Slowbro's attacks.
Previously, Koga proved to be the hardest member of the Elite Four for the team. His poison Pokemon were great at whittling down their party, but that was before they had Psychic.
Bruno's next, and his Pokemon are also weak against Psychic. After using his final Psychic, Burrito falls to Bruno's last Pokemon, Hitmonchan. Brian steps up and knocks out Hitmonchan with his Gift of Flight.
Karen is the last member of the Elite Four before the champion. Using all of their team members in succession, the hive mind defeats Karen after only losing Solid Snake.
Finally, AJ Downs arrives to challenge Lance. Only this time, Lasergator made it to the battle virtually unscathed. The rest of the team had shielded him for what they knew would be his battle. This was his first test to conquer the world of Pokemon.
Lance's first Pokemon, Gyarados, and Lasergator exchange surfs with one another. Then Lasergator knocks him out with an Icy Wind. Lance's Dragonites weaken and paralyze Lasergator, but he pushes through to face Charizard. Charizard lets out a Hyper Beam that brings Lasergator down to red health. He couldn't take much more. He needs to attack, but becomes fully paralyzed. Now is the time to strike while Charizard is recharging, or else they'd lose the battle. Through his paralysis, his next move, Icy Wind, hits Charizard and knocks him out.
Lance's final Pokemon, an old god, Aerodactyl, appears. In Gen 1, there existed both the Helix fossil and the Dome fossil. There was a third fossil, however, Old Amber. Not much was known about this mysterious fossil, but now, the Pokemon that lived within was the final Pokemon standing in their way of becoming Pokemon champions.
Lasergator only had 32 HP left, but somehow, in sheer defiance of the gods, he survives Aerodactyl's powerful Hyper Beam and counterattacks with a single Icy Wind, ending the battle.
Burrito, Solid Snake, Ace, Lasergator, Katie, and Brian are inducted into the Hall of Fame, masters of the Pokemon world. Now that Old Amber was defeated, they had their sights set on taking down the gods of Generation 1 themselves.
Moments later, back at the title screen, right before the Hivemind begins their final feat, they select New Game! Thankfully, before they can even tell Professor Elm the time, the streamer reboots the game. This time they don't select New Game, and soon receive an SS ticket from Professor Elm. This ticket can take them to Kanto, the home of Red, and a new day begins.
Democracy replaces Katie's held item, a tiny mushroom, with the EXP share and arrive in Vermilion City. Before they could challenge Red, they needed to defeat all 8 gym leaders of Kanto. Luckily for them, Kanto's trainers are notoriously easy in Pokemon Crystal. Lieutenant Surge was first on their list. Even though Surge had a big type advantage against Brian and Lasergator, they teamed up to take him down with relative ease.
Next, they beat Sabrina on their second try, and an hour later they defeat Erica and are on the way to challenge Misty. The Hivemind knew that this would be no small feat, because they needed to resolve a problem at the power plant before they could battle Misty.
In order to get to the power plant, they needed to face off against an old nemesis, the Ledge.
Pokemon Crystal made the ledge much easier though, and this time they cleared the ledge in just over an hour. They arrive at the power plant, and the plant's manager informs them that somebody broke in and stole a piece of his generator. They go to Misty's gym and find the missing part. But in order to get back to the power plant, they needed to traverse the ledge once again. After only an hour, they allowed Democracy to take over and stroll past the ledge. Only this time, something seemed fishy. When Democracy became active, AJ Downs moved much more smoothly and directly than normal. And once the ledge was cleared, and the Hivemind was far away from its risks, Anarchy resumed and tons of messages appeared in the chat, all saying "You're welcome," one after the other.
Something was up, and that something was called LedgeBot. A bot that was programmed to spam hundreds of inputs during Democracy and overwhelm the humans who were actually playing the game. LedgeBot allowed one person, who was nicknamed the Dictator, to completely control the Hivemind's actions during Democracy by making hundreds of bots input commands for them. In retaliation, when Anarchy returns, the Hivemind jumps down over the ledge, committed to beating the puzzle fairly. During the next bout of Democracy, LedgeBot reappears. The Hivemind tries to resist LedgeBot, but gets overpowered. They were once again forced into the ledge's completion, and this time, LedgeBot took them even further away from the ledge. Enraged, the Hivemind bands together and marches all the way back to the ledge, just to jump over it.
On the next run of Democracy, not only does LedgeBot take over, but the Dictator intricately forces the Hivemind to walk and surf all the way to the power plant. Anarchy resumes, and the chat immediately is bombarded with the users saying, "Finally." This terrified the Hivemind. Now, during every Democracy, any bot creator could force the Hivemind to lose battles, spend all their money, or, worst of all, release all of their Pokemon. Democracy was now dangerous.
Giving up on beating the ledge legitimately, the Hivemind returns the stolen part at the power plant, then goes on a gym spree and defeats Misty, Janine, Brock, and Blaine. Along the way, Katie evolves into her final form, a Dragonite. Now for the final gym leader in the game, Red's rival, Blue. They defeat him on their first try, and finally set off towards their most important battle, Red. They visit Professor Oak, who gives them permission to enter the exclusive Mount Silver where Red is stationed, and a new day begins.
Tension was building in the Hivemind. In any normal playthrough of the game, Red is easily the most difficult trainer to face. Rumors spread that Red would have the exact same party from Twitch Plays Pokemon Generation 1. If this were the case, not only would they be able to battle the exact gods from the last game, but those gods would be extremely powerful. And Red was no longer being commanded by the Hivemind. Lord Helix would go straight for the throat.
The Hivemind enters Mount Silver, and one after another their Pokemon fall to wild Pokemon encounters. The team decides to press on, determined to find out if their final battle would be with the legendary Red himself. They reach the final section of the cave, and, as a unified team of ordinary Pokemon, they challenge the very incarnation of godhood and immortality, the keeper of the Helix fossil, the commander of the Messiah, the one who rules all Pokemon from his mountain, Red.
The rumors were true. Normally, Red sends out a Pikachu as his first Pokemon, but instead, Red, the trainer of legend, sends out the living angel of lightning, AAJ. The chat erupts. Laser Gator and AAJ, both level 81, begin the fight. AAJ had the type advantage. Even a single hit could knock out Laser Gator or Brian.
Laser Gator uses his only super effective move against AAJ, Icy Wind, and it takes out a little less than half his health. Red commands AAJ to use Thunder, his most powerful move, but it misses. Laser Gator uses Icy Wind again and brings AAJ to low health. Any single hit would slay him. AAJ uses Thunder again, but amazingly, it misses again. This was Laser Gator's chance to KO AAJ, but Red uses a full restore and heals AAJ back to full health.
Outraged at Red intervening in the battle, Laser Gator unleashes his strongest Icy Wind yet and brings AAJ back down to low health. Red heals AAJ again, and he finally lands a Thunder, knocking out Laser Gator. His first attempt at taking down the gods resulted in a failure. A weak Brian enters the battlefield and uses his gift of flight to rise into the air, but AAJ strikes him down with another Thunder, ending the Hive Mind's first encounter with Red.
This loss brought a huge deal of excitement back to the stream, and viewership began to rise. Not only did Red provide the biggest challenge in the game, but his presence was bringing several Helix worshippers back to the stream. On their second attempt to challenge Red, the team blesses Burrito with the Gift of Light, the move Flash. They use Flash to light up the cave and make it to Red after losing Brian and Ace along the way. Solid Snake had also run out of moves, so the only move he could use was the very appropriate Struggle. And struggle they did. Even with Solid Snake's immunity to Thunder, AAJ took him and the rest of the team down swiftly.
After spawning in front of the Pokemon Center, the Hive Mind heads over to the dreaded PC. The PC could only bring them suffering since they already had a solid team. It seemed that the rise in viewership wasn't all well-intentioned. Several viewers still supported the Church of Helix and attempted to use the PC to release Laser Gator, Brian, and Katie. The Hive Mind escapes the PC, only depositing Ace, their weakest Pokemon. The Hive Mind reasoned that AJ Downs deposited Ace to protect him from the difficult trials ahead.
The sparing of Laser Gator was seen as an order from Helix himself, who decided that Laser Gator could not escape his destiny. Lord Helix then ramps up the heat. After another loss, the stream updates with a timer, counting down until the beginning of Pokemon Emerald, the next game in the series. This was Helix's ultimatum: defeat him within the next 7 days or fail. Then, for the first time ever, Democracy becomes permanently disabled. They had only 7 days to defeat Red.
The battle against Red continued to be a challenge for the Hive Mind. The team couldn't keep enough of their party alive during the trek up Mount Silver, and they needed as many of their Pokemon as possible to defeat him. But on their 7th attempt, they make it to Red with all of their party except Brian. Sorry, Brian, but now is their chance to strike.
This was the perfect time to launch an attack.
AAJ appears.
They came out of the gate strong with Solid Snake. His immunity to Thunder, AAJ's most devastating move, was a pivotal advantage. Since they didn't have to worry about getting one-hit KO'd, they decided their strategy would instead be to whittle AAJ down.
Solid Snake boasted one of the highest defense stats in the game, so he wasn't going down easily. He also was holding on to the incredible item Leftovers, which healed him slightly after every turn.
AAJ's Drill Pecks barely leave a dent in Solid Snake, who also recovers most of the damage. The Pokemon of Legend showed a chink in his armor, as Solid Snake wore down the healing beast after 15 turns. They could do it. AAJ was the gatekeeper to the rest of the team, and he had now been vanquished.
Red regains the type advantage and sends Air Jordan out, who one-hit KOs Solid Snake with a Surf. The team counters with Burrito, who becomes confused and succumbs to Air Jordan's Surfs.
Katie enters the battlefield and uses her Outrage to defeat Air Jordan, attacking multiple times through confusion. This showed Katie's raw determination to avenge dragons everywhere.
King Fonz enters next, and after absorbing an Outrage, knocks Katie down with his strength. Katie lost her chance at redemption against ATV.
Laser Gator was the party's final Pokemon. The past 2 weeks had molded him into the team's most ferocious warrior, and with vengeance in his eyes, now was his time to take down the gods that brought him so much strife.
Laser Gator summons both the power of the sword and an icy wind, and it overwhelms King Fonz. ATV comes out next. Katie had just missed her chance to take down ATV, but in one last act of outrage, she safeguards Laser Gator from both ATV's Poison Powder and Stun Spore, attacks that would have easily ended the run right there. Laser Gator quickly KOs the Dragon Slayer and awaits his next challenger.
Lord Helix, the god himself, arrives on the battlefield. Lasergator was ready to prove himself.
Lasergator lets loose an icy wind.
Helix responds with a critical hydro pump.
Helix's power nearly overtakes Lasergator. He wouldn't be able to take much more.
Through sheer power of will, the hive mind bands together and commands Lasergator to use Surf.
Helix is washed away. The god himself had been defeated.
Red sends out his last Pokemon, Bird Jesus.
The final battle begins.
Lasergator lands a super effective Icy Wind on Bird Jesus, who begins to glow with energy.
But then, he uses the Way of the Sword.
With the spirit of Admiral, Lasergator brings Bird Jesus down to just a sliver of health.
Bird Jesus unleashes his monstrous power in the form of his strongest move, Sky Attack. The chat erupts in terror.
Was this the final blow to Lasergator?
No! Lasergator hangs on with only 57 health.
Another Sky Attack would spell the end of this run, the end of his attempts to defeat the gods.
With the honor of Admiral and Prince Omelette in his heart, he retaliates with a final cut.
But the attack misses.
Bird Jesus begins glowing again, spelling disaster for the incredibly weakened Lasergator.
How could this happen?
Some say Lasergator missed on purpose as an homage to Admiral. Others say the sword had broken and Lasergator had to look within himself for the final blow.
Lasergator's next move, Surf, fulfills the prophecy and KOs Bird Jesus.
They had won. Lasergator avenged the deaths of his fallen friends and earns the title Godslayer. The screen whites out and the credits roll.
AJ Downs appears outside the Mount Silver Poke Center, dazed from battle. Brian, who is unconscious for the whole battle, remains just a regular bird, since he didn't even witness the Battle of Gods. The hive mind considers calling youngster Joey in celebration, but they still had one last chore to take care of, their final battle against the Elite Four. With a team that literally just took down gods, these 5 battles were incredibly easy. They cleared every member of the Elite Four in less than an hour. The hive mind takes their last walk through Johto to visit youngster Joey, and the game officially ends. At 13 days, 8 hours, 52 minutes, and 1 second.
Pokemon Crystal proved it could stand on its own. Far from a lore of gods and kings, Crystal version brought with it tales of personal growth and vengeance. No longer standing in the first generation's shadow.
6 days later, Pokemon Emerald boots up. It began with a very strong 45,000 viewers. However, like Crystal before it, viewership quickly dwindled, dropping to 7,000 after only 1 day.
The channel that had once infiltrated all corners of the internet now has a small but dedicated fan base that is still active today. And this year, they're running the gauntlet. Every game, one after another. As of this video's release, they're running Pokemon Emerald. Go check it out. What are you waiting for? We're Schwam Games, and we'll see you later. Thank you so much for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing, in order of importance. If you don't like, comment, or subscribe, that's okay too, since you at least watched the whole video. Good job! Unless you just skipped to this part, which is cool I guess, but a little strange. We've been together for the past half hour or so I thought we had something special. That's cool though. I'll just